Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now today we're going to be discussing something a little bit different, and that was the release of a very small article in Empire magazine last Wednesday. We've got Moiraine in Emonds Field. This is obviously before Winter Night, and then we've also got a little very small minuscule photo of Lan and Moiraine during Winter Night. So what I'm going to be doing is discussing these two small images and the accompanying article. So let's talk about the photo now. Obviously it's Emonds Field and it's the Wine Spring Inn. And this is obviously set before Winter Night. And I think this alludes to a few things for that first episode. I feel we're going to get a lot of time in Emonds Field, much more than we probably are thinking in the first episode. I think we're going to have a lot of introductory viewings of all the characters in their world and life within the Emonds Field, and then obviously see them all come together. And then we're going to get Moiraine and Lan coming in, interacting with the townsfolk, and of course with our characters. And then we're going to get the big Winter Night. I think maybe, say the first episode is roughly an hour long. I feel they could give a good portion, maybe half of the episode, maybe a little bit less, depending on how they go around working it, where we're introduced to all the characters, including Moiraine and Lan. And it kind of will let the general audience get a feel and understanding of what each character is about. And then obviously, as you all know, people always have their favourites, and I think that's the best way of going about that. But for the photo itself, I love it. It's obviously another new look at Moiraine and her outfit, even better one, I think, from what we've seen, especially from that last magazine published article. And, you know, just thinking about the trailer we saw, I think we're going to get a lot of the Beltane celebration, I think, but there's something they might just incorporate to kind of see traditional Two Rivers customs within that first episode, to see them as a huge community as a whole and how they, you know, go about with their festivals and celebrations. And we're still yet to even see anything of Padan Fain and where he fits into all this. So that again is really interesting. We have nothing on him. We all know he's going to be there in Emonds Field, we suspect. I don't know how they would work him into the story if he wasn't there. So yeah, interesting. And then, like I said, there's a very small image of Moiraine and Lan during Winter Night. It's obviously them in front of the Wine Spring Inn, and I feel this image just shows the beginnings of the aftermath when they've killed all the Trollocs and their fade that invades the Two Rivers. So let's start off with the article itself. So, keep it different from the Lord of the Rings. That's very wise. So it begins. As a fantasy show on Amazon, this needs to establish its niche quickly or be flattened by a £500 million Tolkien juggernaut. The upcoming Rings prequel. The way I approached it was by thinking of Season 1 as an adaptation of the entire series, Judkins explains. I tried to take the spine of the first book and infuse it with all the elements that make the Wheel of Time so unique. That meant, for example, a much bigger role for the magic-wielding Aes Sedai sisterhood up front, immediately establishing that we're not Middle-earth here. I like this point that he's making. And just that overall small passage. It is very true. We are going to have, in a sense, one shot. And they're going to have one shot at getting this correct. We're going to have basically a year to get as many followers as they can get. I keep saying we, because I feel like it is we. So they're going to have to get as many followers as they possibly can before, obviously, Lord of the Rings releases, I believe, in 2022 at some point. And it's very true. And it's something I think we've seen from all the releases that we've seen so far, whether it be from news articles or the trailer itself. There is a very heavy focus on the magic system and the Aes Sedai in general. And as Rafe has touched upon in this small part of the article, it's very rightly said that, he's looking at it from the point of view we need to make sure that what made Wheel of Time so unique is put up front and on display straight away. And so that's obviously what they've done with this first season. As he puts it, that meant, for example, a much bigger role for the magic-wielding Aes Sedai sisterhood up front, immediately establishing that we're not in Middle-earth. And I think that is something they had to be very mindful of when going about writing the scripts, filming, and everything else in between all of that. As we all know, when you read the first book, it starts off so much like The Lord of the Rings. And, we hear a lot of people that haven't given it a chance and continued reading the series as a whole because they just feel, oh, this is a Lord of the Rings knockoff. And it's nothing like that at all. So it's quite a smart thing that they've done here with making sure that the Aes Sedai is up front and centre and just getting the structure of the worldview as a whole. Obviously with the women in general being the major players, so to speak, of the governance with the White Tower. That's quite interesting. And now, second part of the article is avoid fantasy cliches. To keep the viewer grounded alongside our country bumpkin heroes, okay, Judkins took one key stylistic decision. Right from the beginning, I was like, I don't want those big hawk flying over the CGI city shots. I want to see the world from the eyes of our characters. He's also worked hard to create all the differing and frequently warring cultures of this reality. The books created a realistic geopolitical world and defined a lot of fantasy literature that followed. So we make sure that a person looks like they come from somewhere real. Okay, so that's quite a lot there to unravel. I do like this new look or the new approach they're taking. I think it's going to differ quite a lot from what people have been watching over the last decade or so in terms of how shows are set up. There is a lot of that emphasis on seeing, as he mentioned, the cities from above, and we're not going to be having that within the Wheel of Time Season 1. We're going to be seeing it from the eyes of our characters. And I like that. That's very much what happens in this. Well, obviously it happens in the books, but I feel it's a different approach to how you undertake a series like this. Obviously, when we're looking at it from the characters in the show, like Rand, Matt, and Perrin, and all the rest of the Emonds field, they're going to be wide-eyed when they come to every new city that they venture into in Season 1. And I feel that's the way they're going to be going about the season as a whole. If you think of it like this, we're going to start off in Emonds Field. Well, that's what I believe anyway. Very small little part of the countryside, away from the rest of the big metropolis cities that we know are out there. And they're not really aware of that. They're just used to their very small and, what's the word here? Oh God, the word. Very small and slow-paced life. Their way of living, Perrin's a blacksmith, Egwene's the daughter of the mayor, as we know, and Rand's the sheep herder. So it's a very, in a sense, backwards civilization that they're living in. It's not like the rest of the world. So it's going to be interesting to see that be played out, and then how they're going to keep on expanding in terms of the worldview as we go to each new city, and ours as viewers, as well as the characters' perception of the world grows and multiplies as we get to greater and bigger cities and understand that there's a huge and wide world out there with vast quantities of different cultures and different trades, and just a generalization of just how small a life they've been living. And I feel that's going to make for quite an appealing viewing, I suppose, is the quickest way I can think in my mind to put it, when we see what we're going to be seeing with each new city and how big the establishments in these towns and cities are going to be. So that's an interesting take on how they're going to be approaching it. So this is a really interesting one next. Make the metaphysics visible. The Aes Sedai weave different magical elements together to work their wonders. Threads that are visible to other magic users. But is there a way to make that look as intricate on screen as it does in our heads? Yeah, you will see it. The magic system in the Wheel of Time is so special. We had to show that to the audience. That's not to say that there will be a mad CG fest. The non-human characters will be based on prosthetics with only CG enhancements like the super creepy eyeless Myrdril. I might just cut that and put the super creepy eyeless fade. Those are unbelievably horrifying. I think we've done our job with them. Like again, this has been alluded to quite a lot in a few of the other articles, and I've touched on it as well. So there's not too much need to be put there, as I've already said. We already knew they're going to go with as much prosthetics and real world workings with this, and they're only going to be using CGI enhancements where and when they need them. As it comes to the magic system portion of this little interview, it's interesting as well. He mentions how, we will see it, the magic system is special and they had to show that to the audience. And I, for one, from what we've seen in the trailer, I love the way they've gone about showcasing this on screen for all of us to see. I feel almost if they'd kind of tackled it in any other manner in which, when we read the book, I know for a fact it looks completely different in our mind's eye when we're reading and we're picturing what's going on with the weaves, with earth, wind, fire, water and all of that. And I feel to, one for one in a sense, replicate that on screen. I think it'll be too much going on the screen for it to be understandable. And I think it would look also very messy, very muddled and jumbled up if they were to go that approach. So I think the more, in a sense, simplistic look that they've given the use of the one power is a great way of going about that. We still can understand as the general audience and us as book readers what they're doing in this present moment. We know they're using magic, and I believe when they're using the different weaves, such as, like I mentioned, the earth, wind, fire, water, they're going to be colorizing that differently to separate each of those. So I think that's quite good. Right. Tackle a possibly divine horse. Okay. There's a long-running fan theory that a horse called Bella might be the creator. I can't believe they've included this in an article. Oh my god. This universe's god. Judkins was determined to humour the fans. You don't even understand the number of meetings I had about Bella. Guys, you need to know that this horse is important. This horse is important and the fans care about her. I don't know. How is he going to then play this off? Are we going to be seeing... Obviously we're going to be seeing Bella on screen, but is she going to be kind of like this indestructible horse that goes through everything and nothing happens to her? I don't know. I just thought that was really funny to see that written in there. Right, so then, okay, the last piece of the interview is keep in mind 10,000 pages. So Judkins isn't counting on getting 6 or 7 seasons, but he's planning so that can happen, if the desire is there. Coming into something like this, there are certain decisions you have to make in the first and second season to set up for long-term success. We're always thinking about that right from the beginning. Will they make it to the end? It's only a matter of time. Now, he had this little interview before the Comic-Con panel where he was interviewed. Well, actually it wasn't. So he had this interview during the Comic-Con panel where we saw the now poster for the Wheel of Time, and he mentioned this in there, and I discussed it in that previous video, so I don't have an awful lot more to add to this, except the fact that I agree, and I like the fact that they've planned it all out vaguely. Of course, things do and can change, but going into something of this magnitude with having just written one season and have no outline for maybe the fact that you might get 6 or 7 seasons down the road if it's a huge hit and the desire from the studios is there, would be a reckless thing to do. So the fact that they've gone into it with a plan for these seasons, I think is great, and I think it will hold the show in good stead in the long run. We all know what happened with Game of Thrones, and we don't want that. Regardless of how many seasons we get, say we get 3 or 4 or 5, and it's that, they'll be able to, work around the initial planning of having maybe 6 or 7 seasons and then condense it or cut away different portions to make it a complete and whole series within the span of those 5 seasons. And that's a great way of doing things. But yeah, all in all, nice little article, interesting points that were brought up, and yeah, just once again a great new photo to look at as well. So yeah, okay guys, well that's the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Leave a like down below if you have, and subscribe if you're new around here. Yep, thank you, and I'll see you all in the next video.